Hi students, in this video we're going to talk about function and graph characteristics. Specifically, we need to make sure that we understand what we're talking about with words like increasing, decreasing, positive, negative. We're going to talk about max and mins as well. But the first idea is that something that's increasing, we're talking about from left to right, we're going up. On an interval that is increasing, every value that you move to the left is going to be a little bit higher up. Decreasing, going from left to right, is going to be going down, so the opposite direction. Positive and negative, we need to make sure that we're talking about above the x-axis. So anything that is positive is up here. Both sides of the y-axis. We don't care about the value of x. We're talking about the function value, so what the y is. The other part of this is going to be negative. That's going to be below the x-axis. We're being asked to describe what's happening between points D and E, so that's here. I'm going to use the language that we just talked about here. Between points D and E, we are decreasing and we are positive because this graph is going down to the right at this point, but it is above the x-axis. The other concept we're going to talk about here is the idea of an average rate of change. An average rate of change on an interval, let's call this on function f of x, on the interval from a to b, we're going to define as f of b minus f of a over b minus a. So this is going to be our change in y and our change in x. Do you happen to notice that this doesn't seem to be something new? We have another word for this. This is going to be the slope between the endpoints of an interval. So in terms of which interval is the average rate of change the smallest, I'm going to call this the most negative, and largest is going to be the most positive. Most of it, ooh, that's fun. Most positive. We're gonna do some rates of change here. Okay. So let's find some intervals. So between 1 and 5, we're going from 5 to 21. I'm going to call this the blue interval. So we're looking at 21 minus 5 over 5 minus 1, which is going to be 16 over 4, or 4. Cool. The red interval, we've got 25 minus 21 over 15 minus 5 is going to be 4/10. That's definitely not bigger than the first one. The green interval, we're looking at 30 minus 25 over 26 minus 15. And when we do that, we've got 5 over 11. Also not bigger than the first one. The final small interval here is going to be 38 minus 30 over 52 minus 26. We've got 26 on the bottom and 8 on top, which is 4 over 13. That's going to be our smallest of these intervals. The only thing we didn't do is take a look at bigger intervals than just one data point apart. But in terms of understanding what average rate of change is, it's important that we think about taking the slope between the beginning and the end point of an interval. So 8 over 25 is going, or 8 over 26 rather, is going to win for smallest. And of these 4 intervals that we looked at, the largest is going to be 4. All right, so we've got 3 different functions here, okay? We're ordering the functions from least to greatest average rate of change. Cool. So the important thing to remember here is going from -6 to 6. So for our first one, we've got -6 comma 14. And we're going to have 6 comma 2. So my average rate of change here is going to be 2 minus 14 over 6 minus negative 6. 2 minus 14 is going to be negative 12 over 12. That's going to be an average rate of change of negative 1. All right. Table next. There's less math there. 11 minus 107, 6 minus negative 6. That gets us to, I'm going to do the hard part, 12 on the bottom. And 107 minus 11 is going to be 96, which gives us an negative 8 as our average rate of change. And then for our last, we got to plug in these points. I'm going to find h of 6, which is negative 36, plus 18 is negative 18, minus 7 is negative 25. And then h of negative 6 is going to be negative 36, minus 18 is negative 54, minus 7 is going to be negative 61. So negative 61 minus negative 25 over negative 6 minus 6. We got negative 12 on the bottom. And 61 minus 25 should be like 36-ish. And that's in the negatives as well. So we end up with 3 as our rate of change there. All right. Of these 3, so we're going from least to greatest. The smallest one is going to be g of x, because it's negative 8. And then f of x, which is negative 1. And then h of x, which is going to be positive 3, is our average rates of change.